Well, John, welcome to North Carolina. What brings you this way?
Well, I just moved here, Jack. I was transferred by my employer, so I've been here about 60 days now, just getting settled in.
Great. Well, good. I'm sure you'll love North Carolina. Everybody does. Tell me about your real estate experience. Where are you in the process? Are you just getting started, or have you been out looking?
Just getting started. I'm learning the area. I've looked at some homes. I've been out with a couple of agents, but I just don't feel like I'm getting any direction, and I'm really not getting shown the types of houses that I want to see.
I hear that quite a bit. If you're like most buyers, you're probably, you're excited, the idea of buying a home, and at the same time you're probably kind of nervous too, because you're getting ready to make the largest financial decision of your life, and boy, you've got to make a good decision. It's pretty important. The best way I illustrate that is this. It's like you've been placed into a room, a strange room you've never been into before. There's no light in the room, and you're trying to maneuver your way around obstacles to get to the other side to find a door. And it's kind of a scary and sometimes a frustrating process. What I try to do, my style is a little bit different. I think the worst thing we could do today, John, is to put you in the car and go show you houses. I think the most important thing we can do is I walk in that room with you and I turn on the light dimmer. And I begin to enlighten the area so you can now begin to move through it more confidently, and you know exactly where you want to end up. And that's more my style. My approach is this. I go through with my clients what's called a buyer consultation. The buyer consultation is really designed to teach you the process and the terminology and some negotiating strategies and things like that. At the same time, it allows me to gather enough information so if we do work together, I can develop a real estate plan for you. Real estate plan being you're at point A, you want to get to point Z. You can certainly get there, but there may be a better way to get there and a smarter way to get there for you.
Great.
So if you like, why don't we work through the consultation and kind of go from there?
Sounds good.
Well, I always begin with the 3 different phases of real estate. I've actually broken it down into these 3 areas. The first one is locating the property. This is what buyers think about. That's what you're thinking about. You're out looking at properties, and that's the fun and the exciting time. One thing that you'll probably find out that it's easy to get information. Sometimes you might get too much information. But this is the area that I can help you with. But the truth be known, there's so much exposure through websites and printed material, and you can simply drive by the properties that you don't really need me to help you locate the right property. I can make it better. I obviously know the area. I do business in this area, so I might be able to guide you into in a little bit better direction. But the bottom line is you can find out what's on the market without me. But the second phase, which is I consider the most critical phase, is the negotiating process. That's the one that buyers don't really think about at the beginning. All they think about is finding that home. This is critical because you only have one chance to negotiate. Once we've negotiated and you arrived at terms, those terms are set and it becomes very difficult to offset that. And in the negotiating process, it's not simply about price. It's negotiating terms, which we'll get to, which is much more important than just price. Inspections, moving dates and times, lots of different things that we have to look at during that time period. After we're able to locate the property, negotiate out to terms that are satisfactory to the client, then we go into what I consider the second most critical stage. Most buyers think, oh, well, we found it, we've got our terms, I'm homeward bound. Well, you know what? There's lots of things that we got to work through and work around. There's going to be obstacles. We got to work with lenders, inspectors, appraisers, attorneys. There will be things that come up. There will be, I call them red flags or little minefields going off on you. Things will happen. You can count on that. And we've got to be able to maneuver around those properly. And when they do go off, we got to be able to handle them the right way.
Great.
Now, as I see my role in all this, I see my role more as a consultant and not a salesperson. You know, real estate's a whole lot more complicated now than what it used to be. There's more forms, they're more complex, and it's a whole lot more complicated. So the typical buyer doesn't need someone just to show them the house. Again, we've talked about you can find the properties. What a real buyer needs today is a consultant. The difference is this. A salesman is going to tell you whatever they think you want to hear. A consultant is going to tell you what you need to hear. You know what? And when we go out and we are looking at homes with my clients, they're going to be looking at a house as a potential home, and that's the way it should be. I don't look at it that way. I look at that house as a potential investment. If I don't think it's a good investment, I'll talk them out of it. I could give you stories after stories. People thought I was crazy because I was saying, no, you don't want that home. And the reason for it is it's a long-term decision. And people get excited and they want to move forward. My job is to balance you out on the emotional side. That
Great.
make sense?
Sure. Lots of sense.
Yeah, good.